Esterhazy would say, I got to have these by Friday. I need a symphony, baritone trio, and maybe a couple of sonatas, or flute sonata or violin sonata for Friday's concert. And Haydn said, yes, sir. I mean, it was like a servant. And Beethoven was the first one to just put that fist down and say, no, I'm an artist. You know, I'll give you great art. You don't tell me when. When it's ready, it's ready. And he changed everything. But take a tip from that and don't rush through it. Do a little of it. Listen to it. Sleep on it. Think about it. Try it again. Follow your instinct. Well, this line, I like this line, but this one doesn't seem to do much. Okay, well, what would make it do much? Is there a word in there you could lead up to? Change the melody to go up instead of down. Try different things. Sing it out loud. That's one of the best things you can do. I mean, you really come up with some interesting things that way. Okay. So see if you can get some collections of poems and start reading poems. And if you have an English teacher who could stop by and say any suggestions for nice poems, or read the poems on the wall, even if it's too long or something. You might see someone by a poet and then say, well, I like this poem, but it's too long. And then you could go get a book of their poems. So like Robert Frost wrote some pretty long things, but he also did write a few short things. So you could find some things like that. James Joyce is famous for writing his books. But he actually wrote a collection of poetry, and a couple of them are really gut-wrenchingly deep. And I think they're fairly short. Let's see what we can do with the ninths. Okay, I remember now. Add thirds.
But we had 37.
Yeah, just keep adding.
What about 13?
Oh, you can't.
Just keep adding them until you have a 15th, and then erase it and go back one.
Okay.
And you got your 13th. Does anybody remember what I had on the board as far as a ninth chord? What do you leave out? The fifth. So we have SATB. And what did I say about inversions on the ninth? Do you remember?
There were no inversions?
Yeah, try not to invert any of these, but there's kind of a, if you do see an inversion, the only one you usually see is the first inversion of a ninth.
If you invert it, it's just going to sound like a chord.
Right. But a couple composers have tried it. But what we're going to do is try to avoid it. We're not a couple of composers, so we'll just try to keep it in position. As far as the 11th, does anybody remember what to leave out? Third and fifth. So you can remember that by saying, if you can remember the 9th, you leave out the 5th. So keep leaving out the 5th, but leave out the 3rd. And I don't know if you remember why you leave out the 3rd, but that's the note that clashes with the 11th. They're a half step apart. Actually, an octave and a half step. So when you're building your triad, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th, the 3rd and the 11th. Like that. So if you leave out the 3rd, you get that. So there's a reason why that 3rd is left out. And does anybody remember what is left out then on the 13th?
3, 5, and 9.
3, 5, and 9, yeah. So you can kind of move across. So once you leave out the 9th, once you leave out the 5th for the 9th chord, you move that over to the 11th, keep leaving out the 5th, and leave out the 3rd, and then move that over to the 13th, keep leaving out the 5th and the 3rd, and leave out the 9th.
There's always with the 7th.
Yes. Keep in mind, and I say this, I'm not encouraging you to do this, but I just want to mention that the book itself says for the 11th and 13th is as far as if you want to try to leave some other things out, they said just do the best you can, just experiment with it. So he's kind of saying this is what we see the most, but you're kind of free to try some other things. They're not easy. I'm not encouraging you to do that, but I will say you will see some other things left out. I was Banddirector in Texas, Thomas Jefferson High School, San Antonio, Texas. 120-piece band. It was powerful, let me tell you. When we marched in parades, when we marched under a street, the overpass downtown, and the sound went up and down, woo! We almost lost our hearing. It was so loud. But I did a lot of arrangements. I did lots and lots of arrangements for my band. And I remember experimenting with the ninth. Did I do? Oh, I had this big ninth chord, and I was trying to decide, could I put all the notes in there since I had a whole bunch of trumpets? Could I have the trumpets to VC and do all the notes? And so I don't know, I had this, I forget what it was, but it was something where a ninth kind of went, and then there was music, and then again that same ninth went, like this, like that. So what I did was I did it different ways each time, and the one in the book was the best, leaving out the fifth word, the best. A couple of other ones would have worked, but okay. What we're going to do with the book now, I've kind of explained looking at it. We're just going to look at what he says are examples of the ninth, and some of them actually aren't even ninths. But as I say, he's looking for ninths. Page 294. In the second system, this is Verdi. He has a dominant ninth, a secondary dominant ninth. So we talked about the fact, can you have a secondary dominant ninth? Yeah, you can. And he even has, in parenthesis here, a supertonic ninth. Keep in mind, this is Verdi, this is opera. They love ninths in opera, especially in minor keys. This isn't a major key, but it's at a minor chord there. And then top of page 295, there's a dominant ninth. Really big in opera, if you want to hear ninths. Listen to any Italian opera. Figure 10.5, Beethoven Symphony No. 3. I don't think this is a 9. For one thing, let's see, Neapolitan 6/5. So in other words, a Neapolitan 6 with a 7 in it. So if we're in the key of, let's see, he's trying to tell us we're in E minor. So Beethoven's Third Symphony is in E flat, but he has modulated to E minor. Submediant 6/4 going to a Neapolitan. So if we're in E minor, that'd be F-A-C, and this is F-A-C-E. And he hammers this out over and over again. It's a beautiful moment. But I would say the E natural is really an internal pedal. It's a pedal tone. It's prepared by the previous measure.
Yeah.
Have any of you listened to all of the Eroica? Fingers stretched apart. It's a really dramatic moment. I just don't see Beethoven using a major seventh in a triad. I think the E is more of an internal pedal. But in this case, the book analyzed it as the Neapolitan 6/5.
So he has a fifth in the bass in that, in the second system. First measure, right?
Third in the bass. FAC, the A in the bass.
No.
Because we're in E minor. And if you hear this done with brass and strings, it's really an effective moment. Whatever Beethoven was thinking of, it sounds great. Okay, Friday we'll have a recording session. Try to get your seniors here.
See you next week.